This poem is called Laughing Africa. It's the title poem of my, I think, third collection. It's long. It derives from a year I spent in the South Sudan collecting the songs of some people called the Nuer. There are about 3 million Nuer in the new country called the South Sudan now. This was a long time ago between wars. And we were making, or were supposed to be making, a documentary film of which there is another story. My first novel, Cannibal, was about that experience. Laughing Africa. Nights in the barn, the clean astringence of urine steaming into the tendrils of a dung fire, the cattle sleeping their own way, and me mine, despite the puppies tied to the house post, their lean mothers snapping, the only window stuffed with straw. To keep out snakes? No. Reich shifts at watch. To block the cuckold spear from the lover's heart. But once I hear low-flying planes, and once a helicopter comes chopping over this basket of a barn, and Reich lifts his ancient rifle, practically a blunderbuss, and says, "Of course bullets come right through." I imagine seeing his wife's breast bleed as she runs, the wisps of straw catching fire, the lover Reich, his children running slant into the suddenly windy savannah. There is this laugh that Reich makes, the time he finds a gorilla, G-U-E-R-I-L-L-A, stuffed inside a dead cow. "How could you do this?" he laughs. "I have so many to feed. Couldn't you hide behind some bush instead of the stomach of my cow?" And then he roars, and the strength of it is the measure of his misfortune. Today, Reich and all the people who fed me are starving. The last Red Cross plane just now downed, every passenger shot. But what's 2 million Sudanese? Nothing to you. To me, it's his clasp multiplied, not diminished to facelessness or the archetype of a grim tale. It's Nyapok rubbing her back with sand, Nyabel grinding grain, sinuous against rock and water, little lamb checking my breasts for color, Pell singing to his sister, and that laugh. True, they only fed me once a day, but it was their only meal. And even if it were the last fowl beaten from the bush by a string of hungry children, I ate it. My hunger, the first inescapable experience I'd ever had, mine and no others. I sucked the stones of the tamarind and felt lucky, and the touch of malaria that shook the food on my spoon, and the diarrhea turned dysentery that drove me away with excuses mid-meal, and whatever it was that hurt the gut, even when I did eat. Was it worms, the kind you sugar a cut for, so they come crawling out of the wound? They were only the discomforts of the initiate, the stupid. What kind of snake was it? I point to the black foot of a man already black. Not poisonous, he says, limping into the sunset, if I live till morning. And he laughs, walking into a bloody horizon, clean of everything, even the stumps of trees. And it is not that he dies, but that his figure grows smaller. The Greeks were almost African. I hear Africa singing, sable and onyx, chants in a language more alien to me than even Homer's. And what I see is Africa the beautiful, a wilderness that's America's no longer. Its light, the one photographers call blessed, its plains still purple to the earth's core, its arid canyons split like skulls for man's first upright grasp. Atrocities in the Garden of Eden? As if nudity made people simpler, or children sweetened the lime pit. There is no translation for machine gun, and what they use is not pigeon. In the bush, the smallest boys spit on clay replicas, metal black and shiny, and then shoot rounds of wet, stinging nettle at each other, like our children. And in the dusk, One young man asks, "Are you my bride?" The CIA promised me a woman. I don't ask what he did. What betrayal warranted such reward? What I do know is that there's oil under WOW, though UPI reports the slaughters north versus south, black Arab. Oil instead of slaves, both ultra vires, worth any number of lives. 50 years ago, men met in a clearing and bashed each other over the head with clubs, causing no casualties. We sold the guns, and like the British, whose Sheffield steel made a fortune selling tomahawks, we too may reap in coarse design, as in a film from Niger, where Africans disembark Pan Am in cowboy costume and Marilyn Monroe truck and recreate the panoply of us and them to ask, why do you wear clothes if not to hide your guns? For them, children are the only immortality. Mothers walked 40 miles thinking me a nurse and spit at my trivial interest in their songs. But we don't believe in children. They are had like chickenpox and gotten over. Nor do we believe in immortality, that juvenile pre-Freudian fixation, nor in the pleasure of living every day for the pleasure of it. We believe work makes us safe, or love, some four-letter word. Oh, the women are laughing now, their children light in their arms. I can imagine my own little Felix, all his 4 years, and heavy big boy boots, in my arms, swallowing. But the empathy stinks, goes coy with metaphor, evades by fingering, by taming the horror into mere minutes of my time. I know nothing. Out in their dark, the real dark without a moon or anything electrical, comes lightning as long as the Nile, and it silences the milling, hungry people the way it used to when I bore witness. The ants of God, they call themselves. What does that make me?